Maelstrom's descendant showed up in a demonstration fight, so let's begin! But first, cards from the last few days. We start off with some prison cards from Brandgate with Aurora Battle Princess Tula Bagavilis. Grade 1 Equipment and Skills. Auto, when placed on rearguard, choose one of your opponent's imprison cards and call it to an open rearguard. And then, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and imprison it. And yes, you get to choose the circle where it's called to. So this is pretty nice. Basically, it's a prison exchange where you give out one of your opponent's useless units and then take one of your opponent's useful units. Although the main thing I don't really like about this unit that much is that it doesn't really gain you another prison unit, and based on some of the support in the third set, the more you imprison, the stronger some of your cards will get. So the prisoner exchange might not be too necessary. Next, Aurora Battle Princess Shira Zenith. Grade 1 Equipment Skills. Auto when placed on rearguard cost, counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's rearguards and imprison it, and then soul charge 1 for each grade of that unit. So first off, counterblast and soul blast is not much of an issue for prisons in general because they don't really use too much counterblast for one. And soul, well, you generate 3 soul early anyway. But considering that some of our new cards will use a little more soul, this might be considerable. Next, Reberishment Dock. Grade 2, it's a set order, and you play it by counterblasting 1. When you put it in the order zone, draw a card. And then it has a second skill where count order zone. All your grade 2 rearguards get boosts. Yeah, so they all become 10k boosters, which in your prison deck, for example, you might not be playing much grade 1s and they can lack rearguards sometimes, so having grade 2 boosters can be quite nasty. Now, we do get a Brandgate deck that uses a lot more grade 2s. This is definitely going to be really good. And also, we have meteors as well that will not have too many normal units. And now for some Desire Devils or Greedon support. Our first card is Desire Devil Deacon. Grade 1 Equipment Skills. Auto when placed on rearguard. If you Persona Ride this turn, Soul Charge 1. I don't like the restriction of the Persona Ride, but that Soul can help. But it also has a second skill where Auto, when put from rearguard to Soul by a Vanguard ability, cost counterblast 2, choose one of your Vanguards that gets plus 5k power and drive plus 1. Now counterblast 2 may be expensive, but luckily, Greedon doesn't even use counterblast, and so far this whole deck doesn't really use counterblast. So that counterblast 2 actually could be affordable for the deck. And a triple drive Greedon for 2 attacks each. Whew! Next, Desire Devil Mucha. Grade 2 tank power and skills. Auto, when placed from rearguard from hand, if your Vanguard is Greedon, costs counterblast 1, soul blast 2, choose a card from your soul and call it to rearguard. This is pretty nice because Greedon is going to be putting 4 rearguards to your soul just to restand them. So this can reset some of your plays. But it also has a second skill where auto rearguard. When your Vanguard attacks, if you Persona Ride this turn, choose one of your Vanguards, gets plus 5k power in the end turn. Your Vanguard is going to be doing all the attacking for this deck essentially, so that extra power for your Vanguard is not an issue. I just do not like the Persona Ride restriction. And now to the Flagburg Dragon cards. Here's our starter, Officer Cadet Charicles. And then we go to In-Road Shooter, Grade 1 Equipment and Skills. Auto when rode upon by a Satan Assault, your grade 2 call this to rearguard. Okay, but it also has a second skill where count rearguard. If your Vanguard is Flagship Dragon or a Satan Assault, this card gets intercept and plus 2k power. That's okay, but it's very likely going to be taken out once when more support comes in, other than for the ride deck. And then we go to a Satan Assault, which is a grade 2 with 10k power, and its skill is Auto Soul. Cost Soul Blast 1 other card, call this to rearguard. You can also pay this cost by revealing the Flagburg Dragon or In-Road Shooter from your hand. So I guess I take back what I said about In-Road Shooter, because if you want to consistently call this, you might need to run the extra In-Road Shooters. And yes, this is also part of the ride deck, so you're guaranteed to ride this, but why have this specific cost when you could just say when rode upon by Flagburg Dragon, call this to rearguard like the grade 1? But anyway, the second skill is what's actually important. Auto rearguard once per turn. When your other rearguard attacks the Vanguard and your Vanguard is Flagburg Dragon, cost counterblast 1, stand this unit. Instant 4 of 1 for the ride deck and 3 for the main deck, because this restand will help out a lot, especially because Soul is still used a lot in Stokeia, especially for this deck. So that one counterblast just to stand this is a definite must play. And then we go to Flagship Dragon Flagburg Dragon, which is of course grade 3 with 13k power, and its skill is Auto Vanguard. When this card attacks the Vanguard, cost counterblast 1, applying all the following abilities depending on the attacks that you made with this card. 3 or more, draw a card. 4 or more, choose 2 of your opponent's rear cards and retire them. 5 or more, during the battle that this card attacks, it gets plus 10 key power. And then, if your opponent would guard from their hand, they must call 3 or more at the same time. Yay! We finally get an Aqua Force related archetype that has the abilities where it gets stronger depending on the number of attacks you made rather than achieving the number of attacks to activate a skill. Because I see this as a more consistent way to at least get some skills off instead of making a useless Vanguard that cannot activate his skills just because you cannot achieve the number of attacks. And 1 counterblast for 3 different skills is quite amazing. Now I really like because this is Maelstrom's descendant, he basically has the combination of his ancestor's skills. Base form has the retire plus draw, and then his evolved form of Glory Maelstrom has the guard restrict. I really like that similarity right there. And now I am looking forward to play this deck. But wait, we're not done because we got more cards from the demonstration fight. The first one being High Rate Burst Dragon, grade 1 with 18 power and skills. Auto, when placed on rearguard, if your Vanguard is Flagburg Dragon, choose one of your other rearguards and during that turn it gets this ability. Auto rearguard, when this unit attacks, during the first battle, cost Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, stand this unit. Counterblast and Soul Blast to stand is quite hefty, but there is some use for it, like giving 3 attacks to one of your units, and in some cases that unit is also a big beater. So there is some use for it, I just do not like that it's both Counterblast and Soul Blast, especially when we got a grade 2 that is just 1 Counterblast to restand itself. Next, Aggress Blue Dragon, which is a grade 2 with 10 power and skills. Auto rearguard. Once per turn, at the end of the battle that this card attacked a rearguard and your Vanguard is Flagburg Dragon, cost Soul Blast 1, stand this unit. Now I don't like the attack restriction on a rearguard, but for the most part this is actually fine, because most rearguards are going to be at most 10k, unless if you're facing Bastion, so this is overall pretty decent. And it's also another way to get additional attack off, so of course you run this. And also because it's a difference in cost compared to the Ride Line one, as this one's a Soul Blast and the Ride Line one is a Counter Blast, and that one has to attack a Vanguard and doesn't gain extra power for it. And finally, Creed Assault. Grade 2, 10 power and skillless. Count rearguard. If none of your rearguards stood by card ability this turn, this card cannot attack. That's not going to be much of an issue considering that you have a bunch of restanding rearguards, but also has a second skill where count rearguard. During the battle that this card attacks a Vanguard, this card gets plus 10k power. Can be very helpful considering that all your other rearguard support so far doesn't gain any power from attacking, and most likely they're going to be attacking alone without boosters in many cases, so having some extra beaters can be very nice, especially that grade 1 that can give this card a restand. Although I do see this card being taken out or not run at all to our other resource gaining engines, but it's recommendable. So that's it for these reveals. What do you guys think about the new Flagburg Dragon? I'm building it regardless because I like my Aqua Force, and I like Maelstrom in general, and this is a descendant of Maelstrom. Now my only problem is that his support cards are all restricted to Flagburg Dragon. I would like to play some of these cards in my Aqua Force deck. Now it is understandable because you don't want to make Magnolia powerful, and there's also Alchemy Magic as well. So it is understandable, but overall I like it. Reminds me a lot of Aqua Force, of course, and also getting much more stronger the more attacks you make rather than achieving the number of attacks just to activate a skill. That's also what I like. But other than that, have a nice day.